WRC, WRC-FM, NBC in Washington.
Okay, Harry, remember you guys open next Monday night in Vegas. Be sure you're there on time and I'll be in touch with you. Okay, thanks a lot, baby. Bye-bye. Miss Jones, would you send in the train seal act, please?
Very good, sir. Just a moment, please.
Thank you very much. Oh, boy, what a business to be in, I'm telling you.
Hello, Bubby. How are you? Glad to see you again.
Hello, Harry. Now, listen, I understand you got this train... Where's your seal?
Well, that's what I came in to tell you about. I'm awfully sorry about the appointment being scheduled at 7 o'clock like this.
Listen, I'm a busy man. I got a lot of bookings here. I can book this seal into the Hippodrome in Philadelphia next week. Now,
I'm terribly sorry, but Bartholomew, you see, is very fond of the Joy Boy show, and he's out in the lobby listening to his transistor, and he wonon't come in.
I don't believe it. A seal listening? I got to see that.
Come on out, I'll show you.
I want to see this. Open it.
I never could tell what he saw in that show myself, but...
We are the Joy Boys of radio. We chase electrons to and fro. We are the Joy Boys of radio. We chase electrons to and fro.
Hey, it's time for the Joy Boys for Monday night here. This is Ed Walker.
Willard Scott over here. Oh, get him out of here. The agency sent us the wrong seal anyway. We thought that was the seal of good housekeeping's approval. Bye. But actually, he's the seal from the...
Hope everyone had a very pleasant weekend. You look dashing today, Willard.
I feel dashing today, Willard. I feel very good myself. Bobby Shedden's over there. Happy, ready for the week.
Anything at all
No,
can get you?
You're too humble, Noah. Get mean.
Humble,
You
Noah.
don't fit in around here.
Well, I'm not that type of a guy.
We like mean people around here.
All right, I'll work on it.
And Arthur Page is over there.
I don't feel good.
It's
Got a cold.
not our problem. And there's Arthur Simic.
Look at the birdie, boys. Got a good shot there.
Hey, thank you very much.
Got a good wreck last night, too.
Flashbulb Simic. And coming up on our program today, we are going to have Sammy Skin, our staff drummer, who will be along to beat out a melody or two for us.
Good.
Arthur Codfish will be telling children's stories.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Not telling children's stories, but telling children's stories.
Uh-huh.
And Archibald McThroat will read some...
he's a new feature, isn't he? I'm not
Yes, it
familiar
is.
with him.
Yeah, he's going to do some recitation work for us.
that
He's got an
sounds-
orchestra, and it's a big show.
Well, we're going high budget this week, aren't we?
Well, he pays for the whole thing. It's
Oh.
sort of a philanthropic thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have an award?
Yes, I think we do have an award here. The streetcar drivers of the nation's capital have voted this the program they'd most like to see transferred.
Play something.
I don't have that one.
Just play the record.
That's called Two Guitars, done for you by Cy Zentner and the orchestra here on the Joy Boys show.
A word now, if I might, please, Edward.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Businessman.
Yes, what do you want? I'm a busy man.
Pardon me, sir, but if you're interested in service that is good service to your customers...
Yes, I am.
And do you use trucks, sir?
Yes, of course I do.
Well, it'll pay you to visit your authorized Volkswagen dealer, Capital Car Sales Limited, at their new address, 1401 Rhode Island Avenue Northeast.
Why?
Well, there you'll see the phenomenal new Volkswagen panel truck.
Really?
It carries 1,830 pounds.
Good. I can take my wife for a ride in it.
Yet only weighs about 2,300 pounds itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's all haul. Averages 26 miles to a gallon of gas and is low in the cost and high in performance.
Wonderful.
And the Volkswagen has made a name for itself among businessmen
So have I.
who want to make bigger profits and maintain low overhead.
Uh-huh.
I noticed you had a very low overhead there.
That's right.
Oops, you knocked it right on the ceiling there. So see your Volkswagen dealer right now and call for a demonstration of the beautiful Volkswagen truck.
Give me the phone number, would you?
Lawrence 97900.
All right.
That's Capital Car Sales Limited, 1401 Rhode Island Avenue Northeast.
That's
An authorized Volkswagen dealer.
And the phone number is Lawrence 7900.
Must be in the air. I
Yes,
got
thank
one
you.
too. Lawrence 97900.
Thank you.
Thank you. Live entertainment from WRC, and that means, of course, this Monday night, it's time for the beautiful music of Sammy Skin, his drums, his cymbals, and his maracas. Opening the door and coming in the studio is our WRC staff drummer, Sammy Skin.
Steady with my maracas.
Music you love to touch there.
Watch the
Wonderful.
cymbal there, kid.
Take it easy, fellas. Hey, look up for the cymbal. Oh, now
that's
look, be
expensive
careful
equipment
setting
you're
up
throwing
a
around.
stuff over there,
The trash.
really.
Take it easy with the trash.
These guys,
Down over the trap thing up there. Be easy with me,
Wait,
will you,
come on,
please?
wait.
oh, for heaven's
goodness
sake.
sake.
Sammy, are you all set up?
I was, but
All right.
I got a bit of a throat here this evening.
You sure do. Here's your script, Sammy. You know,
Oh,
like
yes.
they do it on those old schmaltzy
Sure.
shows. Hi, Sam. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Willard. It's a pleasure to be here. And I have a wonderful song this evening that's, I guess you call this a country and western tune, sort of. It was a big hit by Patti Page about 10 years ago. Maybe you'll remember it.
Her lawyer sent a little note along today to the studio, so I'd do it as best I could.
Oh, well, I always
think
do a
they're
nice
listening.
job. I always do a nice job on it. So everybody like to waltz around. We're going to sing the very touching ballad, The Tennessee Waltz. Let me just get set up over
Sure.
here.
Sammy Skin, ladies and gentlemen, our WRC
That might
staff
take 'em up
drummer.
there, will it?
Sammy
Okay.
playing the drums and
Here we
singing
are.
along with himself, and the beautiful Patti Page favorite, Tennessee Waltz.
Here we
Sammy?
go. 1, 2. I was dancing with my lover to the Tennessee Waltz when an old friend I happened to meet. 2, 3, 1, 2. I introduced him to my loved one, and while they were dancing, my friend stole my sweetheart from me. I remember the night and the Tennessee Waltz, and I know just how much I have lost. 2, 3, 1, 2. I will always remember the night they were playing the beautiful Tennessee Waltz. How about that? Now I'll do a little waltz. 1, 2, kind of a tearjerker, isn't it? Look, my shoes I got crepe soles and they're kind of squeaky, as you can tell. I'm going to do a first on radio. I'm going to waltz my drums right out of the studio. Watch this. I'm leading. Here we go. Cymbals. Dee, 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 dee. So long, fellas. See you next week.
That was Sammy Skin, our staff drummer, and the beautiful Tennessee Waltz. That's our own Washington girlfriend, Joyce Carr, there. And she's
very
singing
nice, yeah.
Who's Got the Last Laugh Now?
Vote for Safeway, my friends. A landslide of values is yours this week at Safeway. With a firm platform of value, the best meal ticket is offering for you selection of wide variety of candidates, fully guaranteed by Safeway. At Safeway, you'll find prices that are always the favorite sums. Check your ballot for these candidates.
This is your offstage announcer with a couple of candidates here. Airway Instant Coffee, 8-ounce jar, 95 cents. New Made Salad Dressing, 16-ounce jar, 29 cents. White Magic Cleaner, 28-ounce bottle, 59 cents. Nob Hill Coffee, 1-pound bag, 61 cents. You get 2 pounds for $1.21. And New Made Mayonnaise, 16-ounce jar, only 29 cents. Now back to the speaker's rostrum.
There are many other fine candidates for your selection in this Safeway store near you, so go down and visit them. Remember, quality value is yours when you elect to shop Safeway. Vote for Safeway. Shop at Safeway, where food is first.
Colonel, you're a ham.
And one other thing, remember to vote in the national election on November the 8th. A good citizen hint from Safeway.
And now, Foamy, the greatest name in home permanence, brings you Arthur Codfish Time. And here he is, Arthur, the old skinhead Codfish.
Dee-dee-dee-day-day-dee-dum, dee-dee-do, dee-dee-dum, dee-dee-day-lee-ay-do, dee-dee-tickle-dee-dum, dee-tickle-dee-day, tickle-dee-tickle-dee-ticky-ticky-doo, rinky-dee. Let me sit down here before I get myself all... Pull the
Morning,
chair up
Arthur.
to the microphone.
Whoops.
And good morning to you, meatball.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be with you again, Arthur.
Got your lovely double-breasted seersucker suit on today. Your blue serge seersucker suit.
For the fall season, Arthur.
Golly, it's nice. I see you have a leaf in your hair. Let me remove it. You got the leaf right off your hair there.
Table leaf, Arthur.
Said it again. Golly, it's been such a lovely day.
Yes.
The autumn leaves are so beautiful
Yes,
at this
they
time
are,
of the
Arthur.
year.
Indeed, they are, Arthur.
Whom is our sponsor, Meatball?
We have a new sponsor today, Arthur. Phony, the greatest name in home permanence. The question is, girls, can you tell a phony from an ordinary permanent? That's our slogan. We have a demonstration, Arthur.
Have you brought those two lovely little twins in so we can see which one has the phony and which
No,
one has
Arthur,
the other?
I don't have that high a budget, so we have one girl with two heads.
Well, that's certainly
I'll
using
go out
the
and
old
get her,
noodle.
Arthur.
Go get the young ladies. These girls do wonderful shows here, and
Thank you, all right.
I'm sure we can tell which girl
Hello
has
there,
the
Mr.
phony.
Codfish. How are you?
Hello, my dear.
Yes.
How do you do?
Why, you're a cute one.
Would your other head quit looking at me like that, please?
Excuse me.
That's right. Now, Meatball, let's see get the television cameras real close up there.
Right. Now, Arthur,
Look
what
at this curl here. Let me just put my... There we... Ooh!
Ouch!
Look at the spring in that curl.
Arthur, that's not the phony permanent. That head is bald.
I notice there's one curl on top and the rest of it's nothing but skin.
That's right.
And she's not the phony girl.
Well, the other head is, yes.
Oh, you're the girl, but the other head is the phony head?
Yes.
Wonderful. You look beautiful, darling.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming by.
What are you doing after the show?
Please, ma'am. Another wonderful tip.
Thank you.
Now I would like... Goodbye, my dear. Time now for our fairy tale for the evening, if you'd like to introduce me.
Now, boys and girls, gather around the sets now because Uncle Arthur is going to tell you a bedtime story. And here he is, Arthur, and what's your story for this evening?
Tonight, the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Oh, that should be wonderful.
Max, Yogi, and
Buddy,
yes.
Hello, Boo-Boo.
It's Yogi Bear there. These three bears went out for a tramp in the woods, and while they were gone, this pretty little girl came by the house, and she sat down in Papa's chair, and she ate Papa's soup, and it was all too big and too hot. Mama's soup was too cold, and her chair was too soft. But Baby's chair was just right, and so she went to sleep and slept happily ever after.
What you forgot to mention, Arthur, was that she had a phony home permanent.
I didn't mention that at all. No, I had no intention of mentioning
she did.
it.
Goldilocks, it's a beautiful tie-in.
That's not in the story.
The agency told me to make sure that we work that in.
Give me my ukulele, Meatball.
No,
I'm ooh, eat. I'll do this one solo.
No uke tonight.
In the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, on the trail in the lonesome pine, in the pale moonlight of Virginia's night.
Cadillac for 1961 presents a new inspiration for the motoring world. The new inspiration for the motoring world is a Cadillac for 1961, so beautiful in every line and contour that it sets an all-new standard in distinction. It means new horizons in taste and luxury, in roominess, comfort, graciousness, and it means engineering advancements that move handling ease, riding ease, quietness, and response far beyond any previous concepts. These are only highlights of the fine things you'll witness when you see Cadillac for 1961 at your authorized Cadillac dealers. Set aside an hour for this thrilling experience soon.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Oliver Wendell, the greatest name in homes, brings you Archibald McThroat with Memoirs from his dusty old manuscripts. Before we introduce Mr. McThroat, just a reminder that when you're taking your Sunday drive, why not drive to the new development of Oliver Wendell Homes, the greatest name in prefabs. Remember the name, Oliver Wendell, the greatest name in homes. And now Archibald McThroat with his memoirs for this evening, I Still Love You.
How can I forget what we thought was just a harmless flirtation? That quick moment when a glance made the sky seem like a million suns were shining.
You want a cup of coffee?
What? That over-the-shoulder look.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That little hesitation.
Call Perky on the phone, ask him to...
That comes before a glimpse of gladness.
Shh, he's on me.
In less than a heartbeat, we were holding hands.
Hello,
And in less time than that,
Yeah, Studio
I knew
2.
it was love.
Bring us 4 cups of coffee
Sure.
down here, please.
I'd been in love before.
No, we don't want no crackers.
And like any other sentimental guy,
Okay, thanks, Bert.
I was in love with love. Who hasn't been?
Bobby.
But when you came along,
when he gets here.
everything stood still.
Wait till he gets here.
There was no one could have told me that this wasn't love.
Hi, fellas.
And as time went by,
What are you on here?
there was nothing I
My
overlooked to
shoes
prove
squeak.
Shh, give me the coffee.
I loved you.
Here, give me the money.
Okay.
30 cents.
I must give you credit, though.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so
You played your
see you
part,
later.
Right.
Perky.
Shoes, I can't help.
and you made me the greatest fall guy since Adam.
Here's your coffee. Thanks.
You used every trick in the book,
An apple.
and a few new ones you dreamed
Give me a
up
bite of your apple.
just for the occasion. All rolled up into one little game played with a heart.
Hey, catch that, catch that.
Quick, get the phone.
Hello, studio.
I had to tell you all these
We're on
things
the air
because
now. Would you call
they're
back at
deep inside
7:30?
of me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Bye.
The only thing left for me to say is that
Have you got the copy for the commercials?
I love you.
Uh-oh. You better get it.
And I guess always
Hurry back. Shh.
Here's the copy.
Thanks. Oh, what did you... You caught your pants on the doorknob.
Here's the closing meeting.
Join us again next week when once more we present Archibald McThroat, brought to you by Oliver Wendell, the greatest name in Holmes. Good night.
From Washington, D.C., it's the Joy Boys in living stereophonic sound coming your way. Please put your woofer about a half a yard from your tweeter and stand by for this. Thank you. Charlie Woofer and Mabel Tweeter, the birds and the dogs. Word here from Dixieland people down at the Bayou, in case you're interested.
Go ahead.
If you like Dixieland music, then it's the Bayou for you.
Yeah?
Because at the Bayou, you'll always enjoy the best in food
Yeah.
and the best in music.
Right.
If you like to eat and sing at the same time, would you eat and sing, demonstrate?
Oh, that. Oh, way down yonder in New Orleans.
Man is eating a ham sandwich on rye bread with a slight touch of mustard
You
and
know
singing
what I mean.
Dixieland music. So picture yourself in the same situation at the Bayou. Come join the musical fun you'll find only at the Bayou.
In old Georgetown, yes. Thank you. And we got a tired orchestra. Fellas.
Can we pep it up over there, fellas? Just
Certainly.
a little.
All right, we'll
Thank
pep
you.
it
Let's
up a little
take
bit.
it from the top again.
All
All
right,
right,
try
fellas.
it again. Here
1,
we
2,
go.
ready, go.
Boys of radio, we chase electrons to and fro. We are the Joy Boys of radio. We chase electrons to and fro.
That's the Joy Boys for Monday evening. Till tomorrow, then, this is Ed Walker.
Willard Scott here, thanking our battery of engineers again. Good old Arthur Page,
We're sick.
who was sick. That's not a personal comment. He really is sick. And Bobby Shenton, Noah Breckbell,
Thank you.
Arthur Simmons. Lee Dayton, listen to the show. That's what I figured.
This is Charlie Staffer, and I say, oh.
We are the Joy Boys of radio. We chase electrons to and fro. We are the Joy Boys of radio. We chase electrons to and fro.
NBC introduces a new announcer. Next.
Smell my cigarettes. Taste good. Like a cigarette. Good.
WRC, WRC-FM, Washington.
I like the first guy better.
This is Mogen Beatty bringing you news of the world. Tonight in the headlines, the big story. Backfire on bigotry. And our pocketbooks, or the gross national product. The United Nations. The Russians resume pot shots at the UN. Chicago. To be or not to be a 10-club national league. That is no longer a question. Those are the headlines. In a moment, the news.
That is the sound of Radio Switzerland. This is Chet Huntley. Just as our NBC chimes signify the NBC radio network throughout the world, so do foreign radio stations have their identifying trademarks. Here is Radio Cairo. These are familiar sounds here at NBC's news headquarters in New York, where we stand by, ready to receive direct reports from our correspondents stationed in key areas of the world. Often, within minutes of an important news break, a skilled reporter can be on the scene, speeding details to NBC in New York for nationwide broadcast. And you hear the news with all the impact of immediacy every hour on the hour 17 times a day. News happens fast, and America hears it fast and accurately on NBC.
Now, here is Mogen Beatty with the news.
And the news tonight is that the President of the United States and the President of the United Auto Workers, between them, have brought the religious issue into clear focus. And it's just about time it happened, because the issue has reached the point where anybody who supports either candidate for president and mentions religion was and is accepted as a bigot. That's a strange state of affairs in a nation whose most revered earliest politician, Thomas Jefferson, based much of his philosophy on the question of the issue of the separation of church and state. The bigotry charges come in, and legitimately, when one side or the other preaches hate that would lead to the violent damage of religious freedom in the United States. And it must be admitted, and some of the material that has crossed my desk has been that kind, that bigoted appeals have been issued, immorally, under the label of religious freedom. And some of the answers to these pamphlets, as Walter Reuther of the United Auto Workers manfully admitted today, are just as bigoted. But let's cover the story the way it came out. President Eisenhower arrived in Detroit to embark on a 7,000-mile tour of 6 states, some of them major battlegrounds in the presidential campaign. Soon after the chief executive reached Detroit, something happened to deflect his attention. Somebody left a leaflet in his room. Somebody unnamed. But it aroused the president's anger, as few such incidents ever have. So, instead of the amiable speech the chief executive had in front of him to accept the key to the city, instead of that, he lashed out at a false and malicious propaganda. At a luncheon later, he departed from his text to say, Detroit has a great right to be proud because it's a city where people have good jobs and have lived in decency and perfect awareness that all America wants to live the same way. At that point, all the luncheon guests were aware that President Eisenhower was speaking off the cuff and with deep emotion. His face was flushed and angry, and he had already said, as they well noted, that he was not speaking for either candidate. He spoke of those who would try to dirty America before the world by circulating false propaganda. I care not, he went on, from where any such calumnies come from. Just be yourself. Do not be led by distortions, falsehood, and wrongdoing. I am so jealous, he went on, of the character of America, and so proud of its people, that I resent and resist everywhere any attempt to besmirch their record. Now we pick up the story elsewhere. In Michigan, earlier in the day, the State Fair Elections Practices Commission, a bipartisan body, had formally denounced a leaflet issued by the United Auto Workers as a part of their regular newspaper. That's the leaflet the president found in his room. On the front cover, a picture of the Statue of Liberty and a Ku Klux Klansman with the caption, "Which do you choose, liberty or bigotry?" Walter Reuther of the CIO immediately expressed public regret over bigotry with a reverse twist. The UAW, he said, did not intend to imply in any way that those who disagree with the union politically are bigots. He promised editorial retraction. The point is, there is room for discussion of the separation of church and state. 2 Protestant churches, maybe more, are tax-supported state churches in several countries, Lutheran and Anglican. The Catholic Church is state tax-supported in some countries. The United States embraces complete separation from the date of its birth. No church may tax all the people or any of the people. The Democratic candidate has embraced separation of church and state, and no critic, not even his opponent, questions his position. The religious issue in focus. But let's get at the story of how and why the president threw away the script today on 2 speeches at the first stop on his major tour. We take you through the facilities of WWJ Detroit to Ray Shearer with the presidential party in Detroit.
The president had hardly landed here in Detroit, the first stop on his non-political tour today, when he was standing in front of the city-county building, receiving still another key to the city and making a response. Suddenly, Mr. Eisenhower was decrying false or extreme campaign propaganda and saying that I believe anyone who is guilty of putting out any kind of document that tries to tear down our self-respect is doing a disservice to the United States. This reporter sought out Jim Haggerty and asked him what the president was upset about. Mr. Eisenhower had given no indication in his remarks. Haggerty handed reporters a copy of an insert distributed by the United Auto Workers with the regular weekly union paper. The cover of the insert says in bold type, "Which do you choose, liberty or bigotry?" Inside is a reprint of Mr. Kennedy's statements on religion to the Houston ministers. The cover seems to imply that a vote against Kennedy is a vote for bigotry. Walter Reuther has now backed off, said the cover may have overstated the case. Ray Scherer, NBC News in Detroit.
Thank you, Ray. Back with the wrap-up of the candidates and more news of the world.
Blackberry, rosé, Concord grape. Blackberry, rosé, Concord grape. Mogen David brings you three delicious wines for you to enjoy. Blackberry.
Mogen David Blackberry Wine with the delicious taste of freshly picked blackberries.
Rosé.
Mogen David Rosé Wine, clear, light, delicate with just the right amount of sweetness.
Concord Grape.
Mogen David Concord Grape Wine, the largest selling wine of its kind in the world.
Mogen David brings you three delicious wines for you to enjoy. Blackberry, rosé, Concord Grape.
Enjoy all three Mogen David wines. Mogen David American Concord and Blackberry Wine, specially sweetened. Mogen David Wine Corporation, Chicago.
Once again, Morgan Beatty.
And now, more news by direct report. The candidates today and a thing called the gross national product. Here is Leif Eid.
It's 3 weeks to go for the candidates, and in Hartford, Connecticut today, Vice President Nixon said, "This is the day the campaign really begins." Nixon's still working the Kamoi-Matsu issue, apparently figuring that he's got something good there. He accused Senator Kennedy of making rash, immature statements that only encouraged the communists. Kennedy was in Ohio again today, and he sounded a new theme, the mess in Washington. He outlined an 8-point code of ethics that he said would keep the crooks and weaklings out of government. Those who can't distinguish between private gain and public trust. Also, no gifts or favors for government workers from people doing business with the government. Two developments in Washington. The Supreme Court refused to rule on whether Lyndon Johnson can run for the Senate and for vice president at the same time. And NBC learns that the gross national product figure for the third quarter of this year, compiled by the President's Council of Economic Advisers, will show a slight downturn in the total production of goods and services. That would be a good talking point for Kennedy, not so good for Nixon's prosperity argument. Leif Eid, NBC News.
Next, more Russian big guns against the UN. Here's Pauline Frederick, our United Nations correspondent.
Soviet Premier Khrushchev has begun carrying out his threat to the General Assembly, the one to do as he pleases inside and outside the UN. Target for tonight is the little state of Laos in Southeast Asia, which hundreds of millions of American dollars have supported since it became independent of France in 1954. A coup on August the 9th brought neutralist Prince Souvanna Phuma to power. He's committed to negotiating with the communist-backed rebels. Today, the Soviet Union announced its own aid program for Laos, with full denunciation of the United States and the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, pledged to defend the little state against aggression. Back here at the United Nations, Khrushchev's delegate to the Assembly's Budget Committee blasted Secretary General Hammarskjöld, who had established a UN presence in Laos more than a year ago. Soviet delegate Roshin charged Hammarskjöld with extravagant UN spending to support American policies in Laos, the Congo, and elsewhere. He demanded that the Secretary General's budget of $67.5 million be slashed to $50 million, half the amount New York City spends on sanitation for a 99-nation organization. Tonight, both the United States and the Soviet Union joined a unanimous assembly vote on a small nation resolution calling for constructive steps toward peace, but only after the big two delegates engaged in another round of charges and countercharges over which nation is causing the world's troubles. This is Pauline Frederick, NBC News, United Nations.
And now, around the world briefly, beginning with a bulletin from Washington. The United States has just resumed our big military assistance program to Laos, including direct salary payments to the 25,000-man Royal Army. The action ended a suspension of 10 days or more, during which the Soviet Union, as Miss Frederick has told us, sought to move into the vacuum with an offer of aid to neutralist Premier Suvana Fuma. New York. 4 leading variety chain stores announced today that their luncheon facilities in 112 cities in the South have been integrated. They are F.W. Woolworth and Company, S.H. Kress and Company, W.T. Grant Company, McCrory McClellan Stores Corporation. They reached their decision after conferences with federal, state, local authorities, and other interested groups. Schenectady, New York. The General Electric Company's main plant churned toward full production today after powerful Local 301 of the Union of Electrical Workers defied national union officials and led striking employees back to work. New York. 14 winners out of television's quiz show era surrendered today to answer charges of perjury. Between them, they won more than $500,000, and among them, Charles Van Doren, the winner of $129,000 on 21. And then there's a story of baseball competition back in New York. That story when I return in a moment.
The future in the eyes of most young people seems to be a long way off. Perhaps in years it is. You have so many wonderful things to learn. You're interested in baseball, records, football, movies, so many other things. But there's another thing that you should be interested in, too, and that is saving. Now, most of you young people get an allowance. You earn other money doing odd jobs around the house or for the neighbors. But here's a tip. Take part of your allowance and buy some United States savings stamps. A filled stamp album costs you $18.75, and you can turn it in for a $25 United States savings bond that will keep on paying you interest. Start with a 25 or 50-cent stamp each week. If you can't buy them in school, buy them at your post office, but do it regularly. You'll be surprised how soon you'll own a United States savings bond. Now, with the closing story, here is Morgan Beatty.
When the Giants and the Dodgers left New York, they left a gap the Yankees just could not fill. And so, but here's Jim Hurlbut in Chicago.
There's joy in Mudville tonight. The National League got together here in Chicago today, voted unanimously to grant franchises for baseball clubs in New York and Houston in 1962. This came as no vast surprise. New York has already approved plans for a $10 million stadium on Long Island. The Texans, bigger and better naturally, are planning a $15 million ballpark. 2 more teams will bring the National League total to 10. Biggest it's been since 1900, when the old 12-team circuit broke down to an 8-team league. The American League is also expected to make 10 the magic number when it meets in New York on October 26th, with Dallas-Fort Worth and Minneapolis-St. Paul the towns most likely to succeed. Can baseball come back, Morgan? Looks like it never went away. Jim Hurlbut, NBC News, Chicago.
And let's hope it never went away so we can have joy in many Mudvilles tonight. And that's the news of the world. Until tomorrow at this time, this is Morgan Beatty, Radio Central, reporting for NBC News.
This is NBC.
Be sociable, have a Pepsi.
WRC, WRC-FM, NBC in Washington. Correct Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 7:45.
Well, there's that old familiar doorbell, meaning time to come on into the old-time record shop. This is old Granddad, the proprietor. Make yourself at home, will you?
Get out those old records, those old phonograph records, the ones we used to play so long ago. What if they sound scratchy? The tunes really were catchy, and especially those that said, I love you so.
Well, I hope everybody had a nice, pleasant weekend, and we're ready to get back down to business again here in the old-time record shop as we bring back lots of memory songs by the artists that were popular many years ago. For instance, tonight we're going to hear from such folks as Frank Crumit, Will Osborne and the orchestra, Wendell Hall, the red-headed music maker, Victor Arden, and Phil Oman at the pianos. Sounds like a good lineup, so you join us, will you? While we bring back memories with those good old-fashioned phonograph records.
The ones we used to play so long ago.
One of the big bands of the 1930s to start us off, Mr. Will Osborne and the orchestra. A man who was phenomenal, how much he sounded like Rudy Valley, or Rudy Valley sounded like him. In fact, that was the source of a great argument. They never did decide it, and there were a lot of suits and countersuits going on back then. But anyway, Will Osborne was very popular as far as bands were concerned, and here's one of his recordings from the 30s called Don't Ever Change. There you have a thing called Don't Ever Change, done by Will Osborne, the orchestra. Will on the vocal on that one, as a matter of fact, and I hope you enjoyed that. In just a minute, it'll be our Monday night song by Frank Crumit, right after this message.
Today, taste is what smokers want most in a cigarette. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should, because Winston has an important difference.